Welcome back to Comics with Drew. This is Drew, and I'm coming back with another video about Disney Gallery, Star Wars, The Mandalorian. This show is phenomenal. If you are a Star Wars fan, you have got to watch this show. Again, it's on Disney Plus, so if you're subscribing to Disney Plus, you already have access to it. This is the third episode that I'm talking about here, and the reason why you should watch this show is because of the fact that it is a medicine, it is a soothing lotion for people who are Star Wars fans. And what I mean by that are people like the fandom menace, people who appreciate what Star Wars has always been about and understand what the very soul of Star Wars is about. When you're watching this show, you've got a bunch of people sitting around a table. You've got Gina Carano, you've got Carl Weathers here, you've got Pedro Pascal, you've got Dave Filoni, you've got Bryce Dallas Howard, you've got Jon Favreau. Every single one of these individuals understands the art and craft of Star Wars. When you hear what they have to say about character, and when you hear what they have to say about story, and when you hear what they have to say about what it means to them to be working on this show and how their decisions are informed by the weight of what they're doing, it's just it's astounding to contemplate the fact that this kind of creative team wasn't working the sequels in the first place. So one of the concerns that actors have said in the media from the sequels, various actors, I'm not going to name names, but oftentimes, especially with The Last Jedi, actors would say that they weren't quite sure what the motivation of the character was. They weren't quite sure what the character was supposed to be doing. And some of them, like, for example, and I will say this person's name, Mark Hamill, would read the script and he would be like, I don't understand what you're doing here. This isn't what Luke Skywalker is. This isn't what he's supposed to be. And Ryan Johnson would be like, well, we're just going to do it the way I want to do it because this is how I've written it. And Mark knew better than to go off and say he wasn't going to be in Star Wars because, you know, had he done that, people would have lost their minds, and probably rightfully so. Unfortunately for us, Mark was right. That's something that we don't have in The Mandalorian. Each one of these actors understands what they're doing. The very opening moments of the episode, Weathers here is talking about the fact that when an actor is hired onto a production, when the actor is going through the script and he's doing the work that he's been hired to do, he understands, Carl understands, that as an actor, he is selling the worldview and a message that the director and the writer are trying to put across. And he, being Carl Weathers, a total original OG old school guy who understands the world and how understands how things work, Carl said that he was going to read that script and he was going to decide whether or not he really wanted to be on a production that Jon Favreau was asking him to be on, because he wanted to make sure he agreed with the direction they wanted to go. And that is key here, because he gets on there and he sees where they're going, he knows what they're doing, and he can stand behind that, and he understands what he's supposed to be doing with his character to make that work. Pedro Pascal is also in the opening moments talking about character and what these characters mean and what their motivations are. And that is one of the reasons why Star Wars has lost its way overall, is that for the most part, for the last 4 or 5 years, characters or actors had no idea really what was going on. And this is what happens when you have one set of you have one creative team, and then you take out that creative team and you drop in another creative team with an entirely different set of motivations, and then you expect these actors to understand what's going on. Daisy Ridley has said that Johnson came in, basically threw out what J.J. Abrams had written and wrote his own script for The Last Jedi. And it shows, to be perfectly honest with you. So, if you are a Star Wars fan, and if you really have been wondering what was going to happen going forward, this series is an advertisement for what Star Wars should be, And it's an advertisement for the fact that you have a creative team basically saying, this is what we're going to do with this. This is what we understand about the universe, and this is how we're going to work going forward. And this is the right vision. And this is what Disney needs to do. This is what Lucasfilm needs to do. Kathleen Kennedy is in this for about 10 seconds when she's talking about George Lucas with his silhouetting of his characters and how each one of them are iconic. And mercifully, she's only in there for that contribution alone. The rest of the episode is really talking about honoring what George created, understanding what George created. Like Favreau talks about how George basically modeled Boba Fett off of The Man with No Name. And he points out how the visor is straight across, just like the face of Clint Eastwood with the straight hat. And it's just a very stoic image. And understanding on such an atomic level what George was creating is so important to informing your creative decisions and informing what you're going to be doing going forward and why you're even doing it in the first place. So I think Favreau really understands that playing in this universe means that you have responsibilities. And playing in this universe means that you respect the rules of the universe and you respect the whole point of it all and understand why people like Star Wars in the first place. People don't need to be preached at. People don't need to be lectured. People don't need to be self-inserted into something. People want to see good triumph over evil. It's that simple. This is not some espionage thriller. This is not some, identity politics vehicle. This is not some sermon that needs to be preached at people. This is just about traditional human values. Traditional values of mankind. I'm not talking about traditional political values. I'm not talking about traditional religious values. I'm talking about the themes that have resonated with human beings since the very dawn of time. And they understand that. The people making The Mandalorian understand that. And even though some people may not like The Mandalorian and they may have valid criticism for it, on the whole, altogether, this show is a return to form. This show is a come to Jesus moment for Star Wars, and I cannot begin to tell you how this additional show about The Mandalorian really explains things in a way that gives up so much more understanding to what they're doing, and basically, in my opinion, gives them a pass to have episodes that maybe are a little bit of a filler episode. So again, I recommend that you watch this show. It's on Disney Plus. I am not being paid for this. This is just me being passionate about something that I feel is important culturally and something that I feel is important in my personal life as far as things that I've grown up with. So again, thanks for watching. My name's Drew. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you did not, well, you can go watch The Last Jedi. I'll see you next time.